the talks of Gervonta Davis fighting Terence Crawford.
Right.
What's your initial thoughts on that matchup?
Um, I think when I first heard it, I was just like, this is just internet chat room talk, your typical boxing message board talk. But then I started like really thinking about the history of boxing. And you're a historian, and you go back to guys like Hank Armstrong, guys like Duran. Look, even Pernell Whitaker. A lot of people don't know this. Pernell actually fought for a junior middleweight title as a
Yes, he
former
did.
lightweight.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, he went back down. He got dropped in that fight too. I'm drawing a blank on the guy he fought, Mexican junior middleweight champion at the time. I'm drawing a blank, and I used to know this stuff. We're getting older, so some of this stuff slipped your mind. But he won a title as a former lightweight. I mean, we can go on and on of smaller guys who moved up, but you have to have some context with this too. And I don't think most of those scenarios where was a lighter guy, a smaller guy moving up to fight, a technician like Bud Crawford. So that you got to factor all that in. And look, Tank's a small guy. He's a guy that campaigned anywhere from 130, to 140 potentially. Now you talk about him going up to 47 to fight one of the best welterweights in the last 20 something years. And it's a tall task, but the sport is also a business. And I know that for the right amount of money, I heard so many fighters say what they're not going to do until like their managers, their accountants get in front of them and they offer them a whole bunch of money, and they're like, all right, why not? So I wouldn't put it past it if it happened or not. I wouldn't dismiss it totally.
Yeah, and I think Tank has fought at 140, maybe one or two fights.
Yes.
There you go. So it's not too much of a jump then, really, is it? I mean, you know better than me when Shane Mosley jumped up 2 divisions to fight.
There you go. Yeah.
And De La Hoya 147. And Mosley won. He won.
He won.
He won.
Yes, he did.
So that's probably the most, because you mentioned Armstrong as well. He was 126. He jumped to 147 to beat Barney Ross. He went back down to lightweight. But do you think it's harder for someone 135 to go to 147 than it is for, say, someone like Michael Spinks to go from light heavyweight and go and beat Larry Holmes as a heavyweight? Do you think it's harder in that sort of the lighter weight to jump 12 pounds? It's a big jump. In those weight classes, a lower weight class.
That's a great question. I think it's a great question. It's not a really easy answer to, because I think some of the guys that did some of this, extraordinary things, they were extraordinary guys. So it's like
exactly, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
so this is, I mean, Tank is a great fighter, so yeah.
Gervonta, he's a young, extraordinary fighter. So if it is a guy that can pull, like even try to pull it off, it would have to be somebody of that stature, that has punching power, that, has speed and just elusive. And he can box. He has some boxing skills. And I know they kind of like double down on, I heard Leonard Ellerbe say, Gervonta was just playing and, this, that, and the third. But I also know that this is a business. And I know if the networks and the people that write these checks, they have a way of just making things come together. And I know people that's probably going to watch this is like, oh man, it's crazy, it's never going to happen. But so you and I are old enough to know, no, it has happened.
Yeah,
we've seen it happen. We have the facts that back it up. Like, it's not like this hasn't happened before. It's just that because what you just saw with Bud, which is fighting Earl Spence, who could be a middleweight.
Yeah.
And now he's going to fight Gervonta, who's a lightweight. So it do sound crazy, and that was a good one that you brought up, because I remember, one thing about boxing fans, what they do is, and a lot of writers do this too, they have, selective memories when it comes to things, because I remember distinctly reading an article in the Ring magazine, how they said not the Ring magazine, it might have been KO magazine, but anyway, they said De La Hoya is ruining boxing by putting on this sham. They called it a sham of him fighting Manny Pacquiao.
Really?
Listen, bro, I was one. I was like, Oscar, like, what are you doing? This is a joke. You know, I thought it was a joke. I'm gonna be honest, and then we all saw how it ended. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
so it can
yeah.
happen.
I mean, that was, yeah, I suppose we can put that down. I should take the timing as well. Pacquiao was on the ascent, and De La Hoya was at the end of his career.
Yeah,
But
but,
this fight,
but
Gervonta
it's
Davis,
nowhere near. Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
but this fight, Gervonta Davis is pretty much in his peak, and Crawford just had a career best performance. So if those two clashed, yeah, I mean,
I'm telling you this. It would be the biggest fight. It would be the modern day version of Sugar Ray moving up to fight Marvin Hagler, something like that. You know,
mm.
not that I don't want people to go crazy because I'm not saying it in my thing. Because you say stuff like this, people
Yeah,
just go, "What do you mean?" No, when we're doing what you and I are doing, we have to have some sort of context to
yeah,
our point. So
mm.
I'm just mainly just drawing a somewhat of a parallel where a smaller dude moved up
Mm.
to fight a big bad dude. You know, so but
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I think it's a stretch. I don't think we're near there yet. So many things have to happen after. This is the thing, real quick. The Charlo and Canelo fight really kind of deprived Bud's momentum because in a perfect world, Bud
mm.
is fighting Jamel for all the belts. Tim Tszyu never get the belt, and Bud fights Jamel for all the belts. And he has one of the most historical runs in boxing that we've seen in quite some time. Now all that's being jaded because Jamel is going to fight Canelo. So
Mm.
many scenarios. What if Jamel and Canelo fight a good fight and it's a rematch? What if Jamel beats Canelo? What if Canelo knocks Jamel out? You see what I'm saying? So now we
Yeah,
got another problem on our hands. So now we're asking a guy because it's much easier to go up in weight, but it's extremely hard to come down in weight. And we all know we saw Kell Brook when he moved up to fight Triple G to come
yeah,
back down to fight Spence. Roy Jones is the infamous one. Moved
yeah,
all the way up to heavyweight, came down to light heavyweight to fight Tarver. It don't
mm.
normally bode well for these guys when they come back down in weight like that.
Yeah. Um, okay, so Gervonta Davis, his style of fighting, he's very accurate, big puncher, not so much on the volume side. How is that going to translate to find a master technician like Terence Crawford at a higher weight?
That's my issue is that Gervonta is a slow starter and Crawford is somewhat of a slow starter, but I think in a fight like that, he would have so much trouble. I think Crawford would dictate you with a jab. You know, a bigger guy. This is why the old saying go: a big skill man or beat a little skill man.
Mm.
A jab alone can tame and civilize a smaller guy just off a jab alone because the power and the pop behind the jab alone can just neutralize things. And I just think that in a fight like Crawford and Gervonta, I think Gervonta would, you know, obviously become impatient, start doing things out of character. And listen, Crawford's an excellent counterpuncher, as we saw with Spence. And I just see him running Gervonta into big shots, just running him into shots because Gervonta, listen, these guys that have power, knockout. Now, Crawford don't have one punch knockout power like Gervonta or Deontay Wilder. Crawford has accurate, crisp shots that you don't see. And he run you into shots. Gervonta,
Yeah.
these guys are naturally born knockout artists. But Gervonta could box too. He's a
Yeah.
phenomenal boxer. He's the phenomenal boxer. But this isn't Rolly Romero, with all due respect, or Ryan Garcia, where you're just gonna be able to just run them into stuff. You're talking about a bigger guy that's probably gonna back you up with a power jab and just dictate the pace of the fight.
Yeah.
And when guys are being dictated, they get impatient.
And he's just come off a career best performance. He's really got no weaknesses.
Yeah,
I can't imagine anyone south of 160 being able to beat Crawford at the moment. That's just me.
I agree. I agree. I think 160 is the ceiling. Now, it's funny, on the flip side, they're talking about Canelo fighting Crawford. That's
Yeah, I
some
heard
kind
about
of,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, here's the problem with that. How Canelo's saying he can't get down beneath 68. Crawford saying he can't go past, I think, 158, 160.
Mm. Yeah, he can't make
So
168.
you got a gap, you got a major. So that fight will probably never happen.
I don't think it should. I don't think it should either. What do you think? I don't think they should fight each other, to be honest. I know if they did, if the money right now, like you said, money can make you do those things, but I know.
It would have to, in order, somebody's going to have to make a sacrifice, and unfortunately, it would have to be Crawford because Canelo is
Mm,
he's the cash cow. So normally, the way that works is, all right, what is the closest you can get to 168, or maybe we do a catch weight at 163 at 5-ish. But Canelo saying he can't go beneath. But again, if the right, you don't, it's all come down to dollars and cents. But I agree. I think you have a more of a shot of Gervonta and Crawford happening
yeah,
before Canelo and Crawford.
yeah. I
If I
think
had to play the
Canelo.
odds.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think Canelo, as you mentioned, a lot of miles on the clock. If he come down in weight at this age after almost 70 fights, I think that would be a bit of a risk for him as well. He's just not going to be the same as he can coming down in weight.
I feel
When
the
he's
same way about Jermell too. Like I think that I, for coming down and weight and fighting a force like Crawford, I think is you are playing a game of Russian roulette. Like that's a hell of a thing to do. To gamble with your body like that to fight a kill. Now, if you coming down, with all due respect, to fight somebody like Tenzu, okay, that's a little different. But to fight Crawford,
mm,
I'm sorry, my man, you got me at 160. Come see me at middleweight if you really
mm,
want me. Yeah.
mm.